The Supreme Court case Miranda v. Arizona in 1966 addresses the rights of the accused. Before the Supreme Court case, there were few rights for the guilty. They were usually beaten or held at gunpoint. Miranda rights were created in 1966, also known as the Miranda warning, which stimulated the reaction of that criminals don't deserve rights, but they do. Although they created it in 1966, the Miranda warning didn't go into effect until after the arrest. In 1963, Ernesto Miranda, a 23-year-old Mexican immigrant living in Phoenix, Arizona, was arrested in his home and taken into custody to a police station. He was then identified in a police lineup by a witness who accused him of kidnapping and sexual assault. Miranda was questioned by the police for 2 hours until he provided a written confession to his crimes. However, during the interrogation, the police did not tell Miranda about his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination or his Sixth Amendment right to counsel prior to questioning. He also stated that he understood full knowledge of his legal rights, also known as a waiver, and he signed it, and understood that any statement he made could be used against him. This Supreme Court case took place in the Warren Court by Chief Justice Errol Warren. Chief Justice Warren believed in strict law enforcement because his father had died and was by being shot. Another court case of the Warren Court was Mapp v. Ohio. During Miranda v. Arizona, other Supreme Court cases were addressed that were similar to this case, such as Vignera v. New York, Westover v. U.S., and California v. Stewart. 2 weeks later, Miranda was denied counsel and received a 20-year sentence. The constitutional issues with this case is that the confession was considered obtained without warning of self-incrimination, and Miranda did not use legal counsel according to the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. Some questions the court might have had concerning the Constitution was whether Miranda legally waived his rights, and when should an attorney be appointed to a person if he or she cannot afford one. Also, whose responsibility was it to address a criminal's rights? Miranda's argument to the Supreme Court was the police violated the Fifth Amendment of self-incrimination, the Sixth Amendment right to counsel, and the Escobedo and Gideon rule.
In Escobedo v. Illinois Supreme Court case, a criminal named Danny Escobedo was arrested and taken to a police station for questioning for several hours. The police refused his repeated requests to see his lawyer. Escobedo's lawyer sought unsuccessfully to consult with his client. Escobedo subsequently confessed to the murder. In the Supreme Court case Gideon v. Wainwright, Earl Gideon was charged in Florida State with a felony having broken and entered into a pool room with the intent to commit a misdemeanor offense. When he appeared in court without a lawyer, Gideon requested that the court appoint one for him. Gideon represented himself in trial. He was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Arizona's argument was that the confessions were signed willingly and the conviction was based on Arizona law and it should be upheld. The decision made in Miranda v. Arizona was that the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in favor of Miranda. The conviction was overturned. The Chief Justice declared that the burden was on the state to demonstrate procedural safeguards effective to secure the privilege against self-discrimination. Miranda wasn't clearly informed of their right to counsel to an attorney or to have one present during Miranda's interrogation. The right to self-incrimination wasn't protected either. He signed a statement that he had full knowledge of his rights. Legal rights does not approach the knowing and intelligent waiver. Chief Justice Warren said the responsibilities of the police and the rights of the accused. As stated before, this court case helped create the Miranda warning, which is still used by police enforcement today. The Miranda warning states that while jurisdictions have their own regulations as to the precise warning given to a person interrogated in police custody, the typical warning states, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can and will be held against you in a court of law. You have the right to speak to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Do you understand these rights as they have been read to you?"
These rights strengthen the police force and cause more professional protection. Contrary to what you may have seen in the media, the police do not need to read these rights to anyone they arrest. They are only entitled to hear your Miranda warning if you are arrested in police custody and they wish to question you. After Miranda's conviction was overturned by the Supreme Court, the state of Arizona retried him. At the second trial, Miranda's confession was not introduced into evidence. Miranda was once again convicted and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. Ernesto Miranda, the plaintiff in the Arizona versus Miranda Supreme Court case, died in 1976 after a barroom brawl. Ironically, his accused assailant was read his Miranda warnings when arrested.